If you feel like you constantly fall behind, you're always playing catch up and saying phrases like, gosh, I wish I had more time, trust me, you are not alone. I used to struggle hard with time management, but over the years, I began to recognize patterns in the way I manage my time. And with intentional practice, I figured out a way to accomplish the important things in my life with time to spare. So I want to talk about 3 reasons why we constantly feel like we never have time for anything and provide some practical fixes we can use to stay on top of our goals. First, you don't have any priorities. I've personally experienced this in both directions. I remember my first semester in college when I didn't have any priorities. I'd wake up late, skip class, watch anime, and then play video games. Days and weeks would fly by so quickly, and I hated myself for it. So I did a complete 180 and got super busy. I picked up multiple part-time jobs, joined clubs, started working out, getting into hobbies like music production, and surprisingly, this also didn't work. And I realized something very important about why my to-do lists never work. Now I had too many things, but still no clear priorities. If you've ever looked at a gigantic laundry list of to-dos, you know that you don't get energized and pumped up like, heck yeah, I have 100 things to do right now, let's start tackling through them. No, what happens to me is like I enter this analysis paralysis mode, I freak out for a bit, and then I run away from my problems. The answer is balance. That lies somewhere in the middle of having no priorities and having way too many. Brian Tracy says there is never enough time to do everything, but there's always enough time to do the most important thing. So what's worked for me? I pick no more than 3 items related to my future goals to accomplish on any given day. Honestly, just start with 1. Pick one thing that would be a win and do it as soon as you possibly can. Because what that does is set up your day for success. You clocked in a huge early win, so you'll be feeling good about yourself and you want to keep going. And if not, well, hey, you still finished the most important thing you had to do, so then you can procrastinate with peace of mind. The second idea you always feel like you never have time for anything is because you suck at estimating how long it takes to do things. This is not necessarily a you problem, it's an everyone problem. Daniel Kahneman, who wrote Thinking Fast and Slow, came up with this concept called the planning fallacy. He noticed how we tend to confidently underestimate how long it takes to do things. There was this study done a couple of years ago where 9 orthopedic surgeons, each with like 8+ years of experience operating, were asked to predict how long they think they spend in the operating room for each case. And across the board, for over 700 cases, they underestimated how long they needed. What we can learn from this is that no matter how experienced or how confident we feel, we continue to underestimate time. The danger is that we focus on being optimistic, that everything will work out. We forget to even consider the consequences. For example, optimistically, I think it'll take me 10 minutes to get to work so I can chill out and have my coffee. It doesn't even cross my mind to think that if I'm late, I'll have to stay later to finish my work. That means I'll sit in rush hour traffic, which eats into my study time. Then I won't review everything I need to, and I'll have to push it back until tomorrow and pile up all of this extra work to catch up on. So something that I've started doing, which has helped tremendously, is to conduct a time audit. For the next 7 days, physically use a stopwatch and record how long it takes for you to do everything. What's the door-to-door time of going to class? How long does it take you to prepare, eat, and clean up after a meal? And at the end of the week, reflect on your record and honestly ask yourself, am I being realistic? From doing a time audit, I found that I really needed to trim down the things that I put into my calendar each day, which is actually a really good thing. It kind of ties into that first idea about scheduling less but more priority things. And later down the line, whenever you start to feel like you're drowning in responsibilities again and running out of time for everything, do another time audit and figure out where you're underestimating things. But also keep in mind that no matter how meticulously we track our time, there are always going to be things outside of our control. Actually, something else that those researchers in that study found is that delays were also in large part due to the unpredictability of life. We can't control the accident on the freeway. We can't predict that there won't be any empty seats in the library. So in addition to time auditing, it's also been very useful for me to have a system for when sheesh happens. We go into our framework for adaptable time management in this video up here, so definitely check that out if you're interested. The third reason for feeling like you never have time for anything is because you're choosing the wrong time to do them. So back in college, I was late on the pre-med track. Like I decided on med school at the end of my junior year, and if you're also on the pre-med track, you'll know where I'm coming from here, but there's a lot of stuff I had to catch up on to get my application ready. So that summer, I was working full-time as an EMT. I was volunteering, shadowing doctors, and studying for the MCAT all at the same time. I remember thinking, as long as I make time to study every day, I'm gonna be fine. So I'd wake up, work a 10 or 12 hour shift, come home, and then try to study. This routine absolutely did not work for me. And in doing so, I realized a very important idea. I was so fixated on making sure that studying was in my schedule, but I wasn't paying attention to when and where I studied. Most of us think that time is our most valuable resources, but I actually disagree. I believe it's far more valuable to schedule our work by focus. It didn't matter how much time I gave myself at the end of the night, after a 12-hour brutal shift to study, because I was so exhausted I couldn't focus. So what worked for me was waking up earlier to study before work and then getting to bed early. I identified that my focus is highest in the morning, after a restful night's sleep, which is probably true for most people. But think about how your focus varies at different times of the day. If we pick the wrong time, it actually has negative compounding effects for our productivity. For example, I know that creative work or cognitively intense work like studying requires a lot of focus. I wouldn't try to do this type of work right after lunch when the food coma settles in, or late in the afternoon when my coffee wears off and I'm crashing. For me, those are the wrong time. But wrong time also includes location. Like, I shouldn't try to do practice problems in my living room when my friends are watching anime, or if I was at work, parked outside Subway waiting for the next emergency call. Those environments aren't practical to get into flow for deep work. Getting into a state of deep work is a skill of its own and can really enhance our ability to accomplish more in less time. And we have a video all about that, so make sure to check it out too. So when I think about these 3 lessons on time management, I realize they all revolve around my ability to properly plan ahead of time. Not just telling myself, yeah, I should plan ahead, because we've all heard that advice hundreds of times. It's more about having a system, a way of thinking about the nuances in how to plan that makes all the difference when it comes to time management. Knowing what's most important to prioritize, how long it takes to do so, and also when is the best time to do it. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, would definitely love it if you can give the video a like. If you're ready to get your time management back on track, the obvious next thing you want to get under control is procrastination. And we got you with this video right over here.